Oh my goodness. Seriously, I have to just do it. It's like I can tell myself I don't have to think about things that don't matter.
I was designed to do those things. How the hell does this guy know this about me?
It's impossible to not see.
When Dan read for my sister, she was like, he's psychic. She's like, how did you know that?
Yes.
She's like, it's human design, guys. Like, it's just a testimony of how legit it is.
Seriously, Danny was like FBI or CIA. He's like, how the hell does this guy know this about me?
Having my chart read, there were just thing after thing after thing that I was just like, wow, that's me.
This man is reading me and I've never met him before.
I was in the midst of one of the biggest emotional waves I've ever been in my life, and he saved my life.
It seems like everybody has the same reaction. It's that aha moment, and they want to find out more. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Human Design Advantage podcast. We are on episode number 46, Angles and Edges, exploring the difference between the right angle, juxtaposition, and the left angle. I'm Jen, and coding the matrix for us is Danny Guru.
Jennifer, it's good to see you. We're going to be talking about the angles today. Everyone always sees them. Yep.
Yeah,
Everyone always sees those when they see them. Yeah, they always see on the right angle cross of this or the left angle cross of that. And we're gonna describe what that is. I have a couple I read for it. They're two juxtaposition crosses together. That's
yes,
rare.
I remember we had them on the show, guys. And if you would like, you can definitely find that episode within all of our videos on YouTube. And that's what I think that was the moment where I was kind of really questioning what the left, the right, and the juxtaposition
cross are. Yep. So we're going to be exploring that today, and that ought to be fun. Remember, everyone, click the like button below, click subscribe, send it around, please. We need to get this viewed, far and wide.
Yes, definitely. And drop a comment down below. The comments are open, and we will swing back around at the end of the show to answer any questions or anything like that. You guys know the drill, and if you're new to our show, welcome. But it's pretty much the same with everybody else's show. Like, subscribe, follow, and send out.
Yeah, absolutely. Book your session. So
yes, book it.
Do
you have
a
slight
thing,
delay
Jennifer.
on your side?
I'm not sure. I can't tell. Does it sound like I do?
You have a slight delay. Okay, so there is a slight delay, guys. So if it is glitchy, let's roll with it because it is Mercury retrograde, and I can tell you facts that it does play a part because this period has been tech issues and travel delays, communication too.
Indeed. Had a discussion with someone about the retrogrades, and I think I figured out what's going on with them too, but maybe that'll be for another show.
Yeah,
I'm always trying to equate it back into it.
Well, I know this one.
So there's a delay.
Yeah, I know there is a delay. I don't know why. Going with it.
Bummer. So right angles and left angles. And we won't have the picture up for very long, just because it's just mostly conversational what this is. Everyone sees on their crosses when they look at their chart, what is this left angle cross of wishes? What is this left angle cross of this? What's this right angle cross of whatever, rulership, the vessel of love, you name it, the sleeping phoenix, planning. And so we've been talking about this, Jen, and you and I had a nice discussion about this the other day, and it's human design refers to karma sort of a little bit differently, but similar enough to what a lot of times we refer to karma as, right? Karma,
which ultimately is the law of cause and effect.
Right. And that's where our conversation started. I remember you saying those exact words. And so you do something, and then we get this phrase, hey, that's bad karma, or that's going to come back on you, or what have you. And there's truth to that. We as a population are living out the karma that gets made, and then the karma that gets lived out. And the karma that gets made gets also lived out by the people living out the karma that's made. And it's, I think I described it to you the other day as, it's as if the right angle people only see a few feet in front of their face, and the left angle people see, half a mile down the road. They just are looking out over stuff. And that's because the right angle people, they have, what their view is it's a self view first. So everything is from the self, I. And so because of that, they only see a little bit in front of them, moment to moment. And think about it. If you only see, 5 feet in front of you, that means everything you're going to do is literally is going to make an impact on something. You're not really pre-thinking that per se. It's just happening. You see something, you do it, boom, you create an effect into the world. Karma. That karma gets echoed into the world because we live in a consciousness field. And while I can't, I don't suppose all too often too many people on the other side of the world are picking that up per se, but there's no rule against that. Sometimes they are. But
why
certainly
Tesla
the people in our
started
lives
patenting. That's exactly why Tesla started patenting his stuff. Because similar
I don't
people
blame them.
across the world were picking up on. I view conscious as like a big database that we just pull thoughts down from.
And it seems to be connecting us all, right? We're all sort of connected, and we all know this. Intrinsically, everyone knows that we're all connected. And if you stand out far enough and look in on Earth, we're just a blob. We look like one thing. But down on the surface, there are the right angle people that look at it like they're making an impact. They're doing a thing. But because it was only a few feet in front of their face, it was only a few seconds in between. They see the thing, they do the thing, or they create an effect, and there's no delay time. And then the left angle people are viewing that from, down the road. They can see all the way down the street, down to the end of the road, and they're seeing like, oh, something's coming. So they end up living out the something that's coming. When I say living it out, if you see a thing, you're going to live out differently than if you didn't see it, right? I don't see the thing. I'm a right angle 2-4 profile. I don't necessarily see the thing. I do stuff, and then I live out karma. I live out the karma that then comes back from the left angle world living it out, because you guys see it. So right angles have this theme. They have a theme of the gate. Picture a body graph, and you have a gate. I'm a vessel of love with gate 10 in the sun position. So that's gate 10 sticking out. That's my behavior. That's all. So I'm absorbed in on my behavior because I end at the gate theme. That's genetically built into me. It doesn't mean I can't see into the future or think ahead.
But then that would make you recognize more of your own behavior.
Right.
Would it not?
Right. It would. And if we're lucky, everyone will wake up and recognize their behavior and live out their correct nature. And that way their behavior is what they're designed to be. I smell smoke.
I have so much.
Say something. You got a question?
Well, if that's like, I can put myself in that view and understand it, that would be a lot of like, the way that I'm seeing it is that right angles are really the ones that are to take more personal accountability, because they have no excuse to not see things that way. Really?
Well, because they're always looking. Yeah. Well, they're always looking inward first. Again, the right angle comes from the perspective of I as just a natural tendency, because they're absorbed into their gate theme. Whatever
right.
the gate.
I was going to say the gates, I'm assuming, and the arrows would also play a huge part.
Sure. They play, our whole design plays a part in how we're going to be. And then as soon as we are how we're going to be in the world, now we're being in that being. With just a gate theme, I can't tell what is it I'm doing. So boom, I make an impact. And then the right angle people, they don't have just the gate theme. They're not limited to that. The left angle people are, they see across the whole channel. So somebody is a sleeping phoenix. They're busy. What's her name? Why am I forgetting her name? She's our friend. Nikki, thank you. God, you read my mind. So Nikki, she's a 1-3 profile. That's a right angle profile, and she impacts the world. As I recall, she's a Phoenix, I think. So she's got gate 55 maybe as her theme. I'm forgetting. Nikki, I apologize if I'm butchering your chart, but regardless. So Nikki is absorbed. If she's got a gate 55, which I don't think it is 55, but let's just go with it. She's absorbed in on her spirit. I'm absorbed in on my behavior. Someone with a 51 is absorbed in on their need for some excitement, the warrior spirit. If they've got a gate 64, they're looking at their confusion. Hi, I'm looking at my confusion. I see a few feet in front of my face, and boom, my confusion now ripples out into the world, creating karma, because my actions are going to live that out as I go through that confusion process, coming to sense and making sense of things, realizations, and all that.
That is my incarnation cross.
Yeah, but it's left angle.
Yeah, 64.
Right. So when you're, by the way, when it is a right angle, it's the cross of consciousness. So had you been born about a day and a half earlier, you would have been on the right angle cross of consciousness. You and I would have a totally different relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You ever notice I don't notice stuff, Jen, and you're seeing stuff and you're like, hey, and you say stuff that looks down the street, and I say stuff that looks about to the end of my stoop, you know?
I'm always, it's just my perception. It's always, especially the more I go on this journey, steps ahead of impossible scenarios, because I am aware of what the law of cause and effect is. And for me to make a change in my life, I had to take that seriously. So that view has even kicked in overdrive, like hyper awareness.
Right. So your 64 sees across the channel to the 47 underneath and says, aha, there's realization over there. And so you're seeing farther down the road. And the right angle people aren't seeing past, the front of their car. It's like I'm driving down the road and I see the hood of my car and I see the road like right in front of it, and that's it. And you're looking down the road further. You have a sense that, hey, there is absolutely something else on the other side. And I'm like, there might be something there. I notice we're going in this direction. That would be a simple description of the difference between the two. And so the left angle people, the left angle has the channel theme. So you see across that whole channel. If I had 64 and was still a right angle person, I would just be like, I have the confusion, but sometimes realization comes to me. And you're like, I have the confusion, realization, and some kind of making sense is the natural process. I'd be absorbed in being a little nervous about my confusion. What's the process? What's the process? I'm self-absorbed into the gate theme. And you're like, no, there's a larger process. That's why and so Ra always pointed out, the right angle people create the karma, the left angle people live it out, but that makes it seem like we're separate, and we're not. It's like, oh, only you live it out, and I walk scot-free. I can do whatever I want. I'm the maker of it. I don't have to live it out. No, of course we all live it out. We're all in communion with each other. There's 2.5 billion left angle people. There's about 4 billion right angle people. It's funny, by the way, I think I would have mentioned this. The gods just decided that more karma needed to be made than needed to be lived out. There's about 2/3, 1/3 approximately of right angle versus left angle, meaning there's more of us than there are of the right angle than left. And it's always worked out that way. and it keeps working out that way.
Has it always been that way?
It's always been that way as long as we've been nine-centered creatures. I don't know what it was before. I assume there was a mirror version.
That sounds like let's accelerate the awakening.
Yes, that's what it sounds like, because they gave us different roles, but then we're always in interaction with each other. I can't make an impact and then not live out that karma. Look what
So
happened.
let me ask you this. With the mutation, is that going to change?
Oh, no, there'll still be right angle and left angle. And ultimately, over time, will that mutation change things? You know, over the next couple thousand years, I assume it will, as we give rise to basically a new species coming from us, just like what happened from 1781 on. A new species was born, and I can only imagine that the parents at the time had some odd feelings. My child is not seven-centered like I am. They seem to transcend me to some degree. And then they started making karma and living out karma. And you're right, Jen, that would make a cause and effect in and of itself, wouldn't it? That would make it so it would accelerate. You're right. It would accelerate awakening, just by virtue of it existing this way. So if 2.5 billion and 4 billion people are making, living out and or making the karma, that means as soon as I do something, I don't always realize I did the thing, whatever it was that created the karmic effect. I mean, look at our broadcast channel. I'd say I caused a lot of karma to take place between, right, all the forces that were here. People came, people left. There was, you know, at times there was confusion, right? And so, and I saw that as it was happening. I'm like, it's happening. Oh, geez. And then I would self-absorb back into my behavior. Well, if I'm just me, you know, I don't know. And then you were there predicting, Dan, as you, some of this stuff is happening, you know, and I'm like, I see that. And right. But I still didn't do a lot about it now, did I? You saw a certain amount of helplessness. It was like, and you could call that a choice. Oh, it's your responsibility. You have to do the thing. And you would be right on the plane that we live. So here we are in a life. You would be right. Yet
what I said earlier on that note is that if you are seeing that, and I guess it would determine what gates and what awarenesses you would have up. But with me, I'm speaking from experience, and yes, I'm a left angle, but I had to, at some point in this journey, had to start reflecting on the parts that I was playing to keep me stuck on the hamster wheel of addiction. Being more, having that view of yourself first, that's something I had to train myself to do. But if that's coming natural to the right angle, I think at a period of time, when you start seeing the consistency and patterns, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over and over again, expecting different results. I think where the level of personal responsibility would come in is seeing it in that, oh my God, I'm on the hamster wheel of insanity. Where's that inner self-reflection to help me get off of that? Because really, ultimately, what you're doing is you're just creating the same karma. That, to me, that can escalate to an individual and people who are not aware of their design into what the definition of hell is, because hell is of our own making, in my opinion.
Sure it is. Sure, we make heaven and hell. There's no question. We are the Godhead. God sprinkled himself into 7.5 billion souls, and we're all pouring out, hopefully, his light, or her light. And so, but think about what you just said about you realized you had to go inward as well. So the left angle can absolutely see over to the solving of the confusion to realize they need to go inward. The right angle person has to be lucky and serendipitous enough to go inward with those kind of marching orders, because they're not seeing down the road, a quarter mile or a half a mile. Left angle people are. So
if I do a Well, that helps me because, E plus R equals O.
Energy plus
Your
reaction.
emotions plus your reactions will always equal your outcome.
Sure. And part of the right angle experience needs to get out of the business of expectation, and the left angle people need to get out of the business of having of worrying about their expectations when they don't get met. Because it's correct for you to have a certain amount of expectation, like, because you're seeing down the road, I expect us to get that next half mile because I can see it. And the car seems to be working. I expect to sort of get there. 99 times out of 100, you'll get there. Okay. And the times you don't, which is rare, but they happen, you could eventually see that coming and sort of plan for that. Right?
Can I say something on that? So how I do that, I do not believe in expectation. Expectation leads to disappointments. Okay. Eventually, doesn't matter even if it comes out some way, shape, or form, you're probably manifesting that. But I stopped having expectations. So I may see the gas station down the road, but I'm not expecting it to be open.
Right.
I'm open to it being open or not being open. I may see it coming, but I don't let it deter. I always stay true to what's happening in the moment.
In the moment, exactly. And the right angle people are here strictly to live out the moment. And if they do it as themselves, the karma they put into the world is the right impact to be lived out. And so we live out this yin yang way whereby there's billions of us doing both, one and then the other, and then we're always seesawing back and forth in interaction with each other. There's always a left angle where there's a right angle. There's always a couple of one or two right angles wherever there's a left angle. We're living out each other's as karma, but at the micro level, there's an impact going sort of in one direction. However, as soon as some time goes by, it's no longer in one direction, right? Because it goes out, it comes back, it moves around. And so there is the karmic field we know of. This stuff is all happening in real time. So if I make an impact or I do a thing and my looking inward at my own behavior, and suddenly there is a results from some of that happens quickly. So it's not like we need a lot of it in the world for it to bounce around and come back and bounce around and come back. And then in that field, other people will enter and they'll be like, I'm living out some kind of karma. What is this? And it's like, it's the impact of 1 billion people yesterday or last week, or sometimes 10 minutes ago. We just don't know. So you can't use this as a crystal ball to say what's going to happen. You can use this as a mechanic to recognize there is a flow. Right angle people are meant to be introspective and adaptive and bump into things and get called into stuff. And then the left angle people are like, hey, that stuff that was introspective, that foundation, that person, self-absorbed person built on, I'm going to externalize that. And the fifth line's like, I'm going to universalize whatever got called into that second line. And the sixth line people are like, you know what? I'm just going to be the example of whatever it is the martyr in the third line kept bumping into. Now I'm just going to be the example of what it was to have bumped into. And so that becomes the role model. And so we're living these things out. We're living these things out, quite extensively. And so you want to pull up the slide real quick? We won't keep it up long. So these keynotes on the left for the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth lines, these are just what these lines do. A second line, I don't know what I'm projecting. Other people recognize it. The first lines, they're introspective, looking inward as it relates to making an investigation. Third lines, just bumping into stuff. That's why adaption, truly mutative. They adapt to what they bump into. And then that fourth line, externalizer, fixed nature, friendly, trying to externalize, wants to talk, blah, 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 blah. Wants its fixed trip to be said. What is that fixed trip? It's part of what the first line was doing as a foundation. The fifth line, a little bit paranoid. They're universalizers. They're not stuck to the fourth line externalizing of of just their network. Fifth lines can universalize to the whole planet. We don't know. They know by it being practical or not. They're the person who receives that projection field. So they learn to like, hey, what does that person want? I better pick the right projections or people will, martyr me. But the heretic of that fifth line, it's not really supposed to be a heretic. It's supposed to be a fixer in a way. Look at the fifth line like the fixer. And what are they fixing? They're fixing whatever got projected out of that second line because he's introspective. He's a right angle. That person doesn't know what they put out. The fixer is looking at it, and it's not like you have to roll up your sleeves and you're always cleaning up someone's mess. That's not it. It's the fixer in the sense that one makes it, and then one takes that relay race and fixes that race. They make it to the end of the race. And then they take the second line with them. And vice versa, by the way. Once the second line sees that there's a race to be won, it's because the universalizer universalized it. And so you see as we go, and six lines, they then just transition all of that stuff. They're like, I got it. Okay, we're good. Let's move on. Let's be a role model and move on. And then you can see these are the 12 profiles. That 1 goes to the 1-3 or the 1-4. That 2 moves over to the 2-4, that's me, or the 2-5. Each time you're off the first one, the 1-3, that's a foundation cross. Most people will be a 1-3, and then about 56 minutes and 15 seconds of arc of the sun will make all the 1-3s be born, and then 7 minutes and 15 seconds of the arc of the sun will be the only narrow window. I might have that off by a little bit, and then will be the only narrow window for the 1-4s. They're a changing cross. They're sort of, in other words, there's the foundational crosses, and then they have to change into the next foundation cross. There's always a step to go into the next foundation, just like in our genome. It's always a winding process, like a corkscrew. And then the 2-4 goes to the 2-5. And then you look over to the left, see that third line. There's a 3-5. That's a foundation. Antoinette's a 3-5. Lots of people are 3-5s, but not a lot of people are 3-6s. Like Robbie. Robbie's a 6-3, I believe, but still. And so as it goes up until we get to that 4-1, now the 4-6 is still a right angle profile. However, as soon as that 6th line is gone and it needs to transition, it transitions into what we call the knuckle. That the juxtaposition is that which sits in between, sort of like the cartilage of a kneecap that sits in between and sort of absorbs the shock moving between the right angle and the left angle process. So every hexagram, as the sun moves through that whole hexagram and creates about 3 out of 5. Let's go with 3 out of 7, 4 out of 7. Let's do it this way. So the sun is going through a hexagram, right? It takes about 6 days. As it's going through that hexagram, 4 out of 7 of that, 4 out of 7 of that will be right angle. 1 out of 7 of that will be a juxtaposition cross acting as a buffer, a transition into, and then 3 out of 7, 1, 2, 4, and then 2 out of 7 of that will be the left angle crosses. See, it's sort of weighted towards the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And so that juxtaposition, they call it a fixed fate because, they're in the karma field, but the 4th line externalizes its fixed trip and they stay put. They stay put until the winds are so strong it blows them over. But very often they can go through a whole life without being blown over or not blown over much. They stay fixed. And in that fixedness, it's sort of like cleansing the palate. Hey, all you right angle people, you gave us some chaos because you're only looking inward first as this I perspective. And then the juxtaposition cross comes along and says, okay, take all that stuff. I've got my fixed trip. I'm doing it this way. And it sort of slows down that process. And then it allows the left angle to then come in. And so when you get to the last 2 days of that 6-day period, that next thing you know, it's back to the left. It's to the left angle before it moves back to the next hexagram, starting this process over again. So
the juxtaposition would basically have the GPS on or auto drive.
Right. Their auto drive, by the way.
Right, their auto drive.
Yes. And So it's neither fully introspective, it's neither fully transpersonal, but this personal destiny, it's in the word, personal destiny. I am looking 2 to 5 feet in front of me. My behavior that I start with the word I stops me from looking too far ahead. I'm supposed to be that way, because if I'm looking at just a few feet ahead, I'm with all the stuff that's in me. And then so boom, there's only a moment between my behavior and the impact that the karma that gets made, that personal destiny creates personal karma, and then that gets put out into the world. In this, the use of the word karma is more like actions. We create personal actions, personal effects. Karma could be the effect, and the cause could be something from a left angle or a juxtaposition, or it could be something just from their environment. And then we create an effect, and then that effect creates more cause out into the world. And then the left angle people, the 5-1, the 5-2, notice how it all switches: 1-3, 2-4, 3-5, and then when you get to the 5th and the 6th, it's the higher number. The number on top is to the lower number, whereas before it was the other way around. And so 5-1, 5-2, 6-2, 6-3, and then we start all over again. And so transpersonal karma is because you can see out over the channel theme, and the right angle people are absorbed into the gate theme of wherever that sun position is, the sun earth, especially of their profile. The personality sun and sun earth position of the profile will very much determine the large majority of how that gets lived out. And so right angle people are making it, left angle people are living it out. That only matters if you could separate the whole planet and then see that happening, but then it would stop happening if you separated the whole planet out. So we can't do that. So you can't really say we're making it, you're living it. All you can say is it seems to go through a process. The creation of the karma seems to funnel in through the right angles, get fixed in place somehow by that juxtaposition cross, and then with that palette set, sort of like you cleanse your taste buds in between a wine tasting. That's what the 4-1 does. And then boom, the wine tasting happens, and you universalizers and you role models, mostly you universalizers, you guys, by far the most of it, are the epitome of the archetype of what is a left angle cross. You guys you speak. When it's practical and it's the right thing to say, you're out saying it. I'm only out saying it if I get called into it. You're out saying it because you see something a little farther down the road. And it's really just that. And then you can be called too, Jen. And then all the rest of the stuff happens. So
I'm convinced Noah was a 5-1.
Of Noah's Ark,
Mm-hmm.
he did universalize a message.
Yeah, no one listened.
No one listened. They called him a heretic.
Exactly.
But what did the heretic, like the general, like the saint and the savior, all of these keynotes go to it. They stood by their morals. They stood by their convictions. So if he wasn't a 5-1, he was a 3-5. One of the two. I see what you're saying. And
I think most biblical prophets in the Bible were had a 5, especially within.
That would make sense.
Jesus. I mean, one week they're celebrating he's coming in, the next week they're nailing him to a cross.
That's how that worked. Yeah, and they would have projected upon him. Everyone projected upon him one side or the other. This man's going to ruin everything, or this man's going to save everything. Mm-hmm. And if you look right up that just to the right where it says the themes on here, and then we can close the picture, that circuit theme, this is where it points it out. There's the gate theme. That's all of these bottom, almost 2/3. And then the 4-1, the juxtaposition is the channel theme. And then the 5-1 and the 5-2 are definitely still the channel theme. But when you get to the 6 line, because they're about to adapt out, move into the next hexagram, they're still left angle, but they're actually looking out over the whole circuitry. Now, they can't detail this in language per se. And it doesn't give them a winning lottery ticket. Oh, I see everything. No. It's just a tendency. It's a way that shows up. It's not something you can be like, oh, I'm guaranteed I know the future now because I'm looking out over the whole circuit group itself. But it does cause a flavor of the fifth line will look out over the channel and say, you know what? It's not practical if I can't get to the solving of the confusion. I'm not doing it. The right angle might just say, I'm confused, I'm doing, and then come to some realization. Left angle's like, I'm not getting into this deal. I'm not making that bargain until I can see that I will be able to figure out and realize the end of this confusion. And the sixth line people looking out over the whole circuit group are like, I don't know if I should do anything, period. I'm up on a roof anyways half the time. Maybe I'll just watch. Why should I come down? And then they look out over that whole abstract collective circuitry, the sensing circuit. So they want that confusion solved. And then gate 11 and 56, it better have some good ideas. And someone better be telling a good story. And then all the way down to the prodigal and the living in the experience. And then this better have a process that matures from beginning to middle to end. And so they're looking out over the whole circuit group before there's, and so that sometimes they live out the karma harder because of a delay. They're like, no, all my terms must be met. Fifth line, right angles. No, the terms of what I know is on the other side of that down this channel must be met. And the right angle are, I hope something gets met. So that's what you see, the gate theme, the channel theme, and then the circuit theme. So, and that sixth line circuit theme is a big deal because obviously this is leading us into the mutation. They're the ones that bring us all that 3-part life cycle that we all live out. We all have a little bit of sense of a little bit of going up on the roof. We all have a sense of getting maturing and then coming back out as something that's stronger, more like a role model, a living example of what it is to be ourselves. Where other people see that's us aspiring to be the role model of that sixth line. That's what the forces are pushing us towards that. And that causes so much mayhem on the planet because most people don't live out that role model existence of just being themselves. They live out the not self version of trying to be something they're not. And so the karma gets dirty and all of that impact and all of that stuff into the world gets distorted. And then they wonder what happened. And then right angle people are the first one to say, what did I do to deserve this? You know what I mean? Because the karma comes back. You don't skip away scot-free.
No, and higher that the vibration raises on the planet, that karma is a boomerang effect right now.
Boomerang. Yeah. Kaboomerang. Bam. And it will. And like on Mad Max, it'll chop your fingers off if you're not careful.
It's coming back. That's why when you said that there's more right angles, I feel like that's an acceleration for us to wake up, because the only way that humanity is going to make a change is if we stop creating all this karma, keeping us stuck in this matrix.
Right. Just think about the words, the keynote of personal destiny. That doesn't really speak to karma, does it? As we think of the classical use of the word. But yet it is wrapped up explicitly inside of the karmic field. And this karmic field, as you so aptly put, this law of cause and effect, that's karma. And we're living it out in these different ways, yet we still are so close to each other that it is boomeranging back around. So we're living it out together. And it's a beautiful system. It's a little ecosystem all by itself. So you right angle people, you're a little bit self-absorbed. You can't tell what's on the other side. So stop beating yourself up. And suddenly the other sides, the correct other sides that are supposed to be there will show up. And you juxtaposition folks. There's not nearly as many of you, but sometimes you feel fixed, like a fixed nature. Don't sweat it. That's your job. The right forces will come to you and you will be part of the right network with the right influence if you live out your nature. Otherwise, you'll have nothing but anxiety about how you can't keep to the fixed thing that you're looking at. You're trying to fix a fixed fate for us. Hey, let's fix this in place. We need you. I need you to wake up. And then you left angle guys, you know what I mean? Don't think that the world is against you. It's a bunch of stupid people that put impact into the world that didn't know, or only had a loose idea, or didn't think it all the way through, didn't have it all. So you're relying on a bunch of people to be themselves, so that what you're running into isn't a pile of stupid. And so, Jen, you're always looking out for the pile of stupid. And us right angle people are part of the creation of that dung pile of stupid, until we're not. And we're part of the creation of that pile of greatness. You know,
Left
so
angle people are waiting.
did I say?
I said us left angle people are waiting.
Yeah, you are. And if you're impatient and not as yourself out there and you're left angle and you have not had your chart read, get yourself in for a reading, because you'll start to realize that waiting is really that waiting is an active state of awareness, is what it is. It's not lost time. It's an active state of awareness. It is not lost time. And that is left angle, right angle, and juxtaposition, sort of as a surface view in a nutshell.
Good job.
Mm-hmm.
Sherry Soto had a question.
Right angle.
Right penetration to what do I penetrate?
What's the profile number?
She hadn't typed that.
Yep.
Okay, hold on.
651, 657, 653. So she's a 4-6. Okay. So 53. Okay. What are you penetrating into? You're penetrating into what is your hunger to start something and your drive to push it forward. You're penetrating that moment as yourself. And you want to externalize that. You want to talk about that. I want to start this. You want to share what you want to start. You're hungry to start. Don't put a chain around you, or else you're going to go crazy. And then you feel driven to do something about that. And then you feel like crap when you're not driven to do something about that, because you think that's your fault. All self-absorbed action. It's not your fault. Whatever it was, if you're not doing it, that's because you're not supposed to be doing it. It's pretty much that simple. And then when you get the mind involved, you start torturing yourself over all of that. Just notice that your body doesn't move. That's your responsive nature. I'm assuming you're a generator. If not, let me know. But because a lot of those channels make a generator, make a generative channel. So hopefully that answered your question. Absorbed on the gate theme of starting, the hunger to begin, the beginning of things. An experiential process. Let me experience what it is to start this thing. And you don't always know what the heck is going to finish and conclude that thing. You just know you want to start. That's correct. Live with that knowing.
Awesome. She hadn't responded if she's a generator, but great job.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Sherry.
I knew that was coming. Yeah. Okay. Nikki said, love the Bible reference, Jen. I'd have to agree. It took John the Martyr to speak about Jesus coming first. Yes, another one. A lot of biblical key players, I believe, were fives or had fives in the profile. Dominant.
Yep.
So.
Yep, very much so. There is argument for him to be a 3-5. Because the third line is so adaptive, and every time they get knocked down, they get back up. So that third line could have, would be synonymous with got put down, rose back up. It's just a thing that they do. And they're always bumping into the next thing. So it makes them very mutative. So either one of those profiles could have done it,
Well, good job. That's all we got.
I feel good.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. 4433 on the timer. Synchronicities are crazy. You guys know what to do. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow the show. If you haven't already gotten your session with Dan, check the links in the description and book your session and get on in here. And I got a fly that wants to bother me now. But yeah, come on in and we will see you on Wednesday.
We'll see you on Wednesday, guys.
All right. Y'all have a beautiful Sunday. Much love.